Well, hello, Stampers. It's the Pampered Stamper, and I'm coming to you from Schravenzande, the Netherlands. And today it's my stories and stamps video, which means I'm going to share it with you some stamping and I'm going to tell some stories in between. Now, this time the stories are mostly going to be about the stamps, I think. But the other fun stories always slip in between, I'm sure. So today I wanted to share with you a fantastic stamp set that I really, really loved out of the mini catalog, and it's called Apple Harvest. I think I'm pretty sure it's out of the mini catalog, the July to December or July to January oh, where's my head? The July to January catalog. But what's really special is that Stampin' Up! Released just for the month of September a bunch of dies, and there's a set of dies that goes with this set, which is, I don't know if you're like me, but fussy cutting is not always at the top of my list of things that I love to do. So I used the stamps and the dies, but what I was really excited about was to explore different ways of coloring in these images. I don't know if you love coloring as much as I do. Now, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. I love coloring, but I don't like for there to be too many rules. I like to be able to play and have fun. It's supposed to, be a stress relieving activity, actually. So let's take a look and see what I have done. All right, so here we have the Apple Harvest stamp set. And so before I go any further, be sure to check out my Pampered Stamper blog, thepamperedstamper.com, and also my YouTube channel. So that's ways where you can find me. So here is the Apple Harvest stamp set. And then what I did was, here is a piece of paper that I stamped a whole bunch of things on. And then I colored them in different ways. So I'm going to pop in my things. So here I used, let's pop it right in there, sliding around on me. Should fit in like a puzzle piece. Anyway, you get the idea. That one I used blending brushes and I used masking. So here is a mask that I cut out of the masking paper to cover up the green. I'm going to show you, okay? But I wanted to just talk about it for a minute. The next one I used, for this one, I used blends. And that one pops in here. And for this one, I used a blender pen and ink. And it gives you a whole different feeling, okay? And you can see here with those lines, those are my masking papers that I put on there so that because when you're going with a blending brush, you're making some pretty big circular motions. So I didn't want to mess up my other images. And it's much easier to color your images before you cut them out. So that's another trick. And then I'm going to show you the rest of the dies. There's some really cute little dies here for the inside of the flowers. Now, I didn't want to cut up a brand new piece of crushed curry cardstock. So I used a blending brush and just colored a scrap of basic white. And then I have my crushed curry centers. And they are going to be the centers for the apple blossoms. So let's move that out of the way. It's a beautiful sunshiny day here in the Netherlands. Yesterday it poured buckets. We tried to get a beach walk in, and I have to say, the Canadian was tougher than the Dutchman. He called quits before I did. He said, no, I can't do this. I'm going home. So take a look at that. How cute is that? So the little guys go in the little flowers. Just Google apple blossoms and you'll get an idea of what they should look like. So that's exciting. Then we have this die is in there. It's a really pretty one. And it cuts out the hope you are feeling better. And the greatest gift is a good friend here. So those dies are all in there. The next thing is there's a die that cuts out a branch. I'm running out of space, aren't I? Here. And then there's a pile of leaves, and I have a tip for the leaves too. There are at least 5 or 6 leaf dies. I'll show them to you in a minute, but look, they not only do they cut out the leaf, but there's also really pretty, the veins of the leaves are in there. You could also sponge these to give them a more 3D look, but they are beautiful. So you can just see how that would go on the branch. So I'm thinking I didn't have time to make a card with all these things, but I'm thinking tomorrow for stamping through my stash, I will do a video showing a card made with all these things that I've cut out. I love the idea of cutting out your pieces ahead of time and then being able to play with them later. See, so you want the different sizes in there. They don't all be there, and that's what's nice about Stampin' Up. They've given you both sizes of leaves, so you can see how we're going with this. And if you have all your pieces cut out already, it lets you be creative, and you can right away put your branch together, and you don't have to worry about stopping and cutting. Now, I'm going to show you something. You know how sometimes with dies we go back and forth with the die cutting machine? We run it through more than once. Don't do that because it cuts too much and your leaf will fall apart. And if it moves just a little bit, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see that better. Let's have a look. See how that leaf fell apart on the bottom right-hand corner? That happened because I cranked it through twice. So don't do that. You get a perfectly good impression by cranking it through only one time. There's also a scallop die in there. Now, if you're like me, you're looking at that scallop and you're thinking, I don't like the looks of that scallop. It's kind of too long. You know what I actually thought of? You're going to laugh. I thought it reminded me of droopy boobs. But now take a look. See how it looks now? And then if you put it under a piece of cardstock and you only have the scallop sticking out, now it looks really nice. Although once I say droopy boobs, you're never going to get that idea out of your head. So that looks good, but there's also a little piece like this that comes out, this tiny little piece. Oops, they're tangled. Like this. I'm just going to move these out of the way. See? Like that. And so I have the green one because I thought I'll do one in garden green too. And here, this is what it looks like. So you cut it out and it cuts the scallop and it leaves a little tiny piece too. So to do this, let me just find some scissors. Where are my scissors? Oh, I don't want to use my papers. I don't want to use my ribbon scissors. So if you just cut this here like so, then you get that scalloped edge. But if you just put it in the middle of a piece of cardstock, you'll just get that opening. And maybe you've thought of something to do with that. But I like it that you get the scallop and that extra little tiny piece. I think it would be great to use our adhesive sheets for this so that you could stick it on and so that tiny little piece here would already have a sticker backing to it. That would make it much easier. So take a look. Here are all the dies. So this one cut out. Oh, look at this one moved. Here, that one cut out this one here. This one cuts out the big apple. This one cuts out the big branch. Oh, I think I have it wrong here. So, and then we have, I haven't had a chance to put this on a magnet yet. So here we have the rest of the flowers. There's 4 flowers and I count 3, 6, 7, 8 leaves if none have fallen off. Then we have the scallop die and we have this long die here. So before we call this a wrap, I want to show you a little bit of how I did this. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of coloring. And I also stamped the images on some shimmery white. Now, shimmery white, if you see it beside the regular white, it's just a little bit more vanilla-y. Okay, it's kind of between very vanilla and whisper white, basic white. So I also accidentally first stamped them in Memento ink, but it's really, if you're going to be using watercoloring, you're supposed to use StazOn ink. So these are done with StazOn, and we're going to see if there's a difference between the two. And let's have a look. So I'm going to show you how I did. I'm just going to move all this stuff for a minute, okay? Let's see. So just to recap, this one was done with blends. This one was done with a blender pen and ink. And this one was done with our blending brushes. And the key was to use this Stampin' Up! Masking paper, which is still on sale today, okay? Not sure if it's 10% off, 15% off, but it is a little bit cheaper. Wonderful tool. I did a video yesterday showing you how I made this card with the masking paper as well. So you can check out that in my cheer corner, and that was fun too. Okay, so I have my grid paper, I have my apple, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mask on here. I want that to be on the leaf so that my leaf stays doesn't get red. And then, oh, that's for later. Now I'm going to take my masking paper and put it across here so that my other stamping images don't get dirty. We're going to use cherry cobbler and real red. Okay, so I'm going to start with cherry cobbler, and you can see I'm using an older stamp pad and a new one. Both of them work. So the best thing about these guys is that they stack. See those little dots? They stack on top of each other and they take up less room. That's the biggest advantage. So I'm taking, oh, see, I've used this now mask a few times. There. So I'm taking the cherry cobbler, and I'll go start at the top. And I'm just going around the edges for a minute, but then I'm going to go with the real red over the whole thing, and then I'm going to come back again with the cherry cobbler. What I find happens when you use your blending brushes, and maybe we can zoom in a little bit, is that it starts looking velvety. It gives you a beautiful, moving up a little. We'll zoom in a little bit more. I have an appointment after this to go to get my Dutch citizenship started. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's why this video isn't going to be as long as perhaps it could be. And that's why I'm going to continue with it tomorrow. So I'm leaving a little bit of light in the middle here. So there's the real red. Now I'm going to go over it again with cherry cobbler. And I just want to get the edges with the cherry cobbler just to make it darker. Maybe at the top. I love this. Okay, now this is going to get really dramatic. Look what happens now. I'm going to peel off the masking paper. Look at that. So now I took my other pieces from the mask, and I'm going to put them like so. Now it's been used a few times, so it's not as sticky. And now this one goes around here. And then I'm going to use a blending brush with Old Olive. And of course the ink is a little bit wet too. And then I'm going to put this so. And I really should have a piece here too, so I'm just going to cut this off. I won't be able to use my circles again. But that's how you can just reuse. So now I've covered up everything that I want to not be green. We're going to get another brush, and we're going to use Old Olive and a little bit of Garden Green. So I'm going to start with Garden Green. Just here. And I'm just tapping it a little. And now we'll go with a little bit of Old Olive. This is just really a lot of fun, and that's what it should be. Stamping, making cards, paper crafting should just be fun. I'm coming in with some Old Olive. I like the idea of having two colors. It just looks richer. All right, now let's take a peek. There, my leaves are a little darker than they were for the other one, but I think they look really nice. And then we'll use the die to cut that apple right out. Okay, so here, this is what it looks like when it's cut. Really nice, isn't it? And then what I did, you'll say, well, I see some little spots there. Well, you can take your blend. This is the dark Old Olive, and you can just fix it with your fine tip. Just go in here, and then it's gone. Just be careful. Because of course we don't want that there. And you can also do this. You could possibly do it after you have cut it. Okay, I'm just turning it around because it's easier to see this way for me. Gives me a little bit more control. And a little bit of white is okay too. So I think it's just stunning. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so now I want to show you another tip. Um, okay, for the blending pen, if I can find it, let's have a look. Okay. All right, so I have the blending pen. And you know what? I know now that we are not going to have time. I've got a block here and I've put cherry cobbler on this side and real red on this side. So what I did was the blender pen is just basically a naked marker. I'm just going in like this and going over top of where the artist has decided it should be a little darker. And then I can't be late for this meeting, so I'm going to stop the video shortly and we're going to continue it tomorrow with stories and stamps. No, stamping through my stash. So the trick with the blender pens is that you start with the dark and you keep coloring and you see how it goes lighter. And you have to have a very light touch because otherwise you will delaminate your paper. You can't rub and scrub like you have to. And you can add layers of color afterwards. I find it a little trickier, and I also think I accidentally used our thick basic white, and I think our regular basic white is better. Okay, but you can see the difference between the cherry cobbler and the real red. And here it is. Okay, so tomorrow I will show you what it looks like, and then always clear your blender pen like this. Tomorrow I will show you what it looks like with the shimmery white paper, and yeah, and then I'll tell you some more stories as well. But so far, so good. This is a fantastic set. I hope that I'll put the links in probably tomorrow or later on so that you can purchase this, okay? And this video is also going to be posted without a thumbnail. It's not going to look all beautiful, but I'll fix it later and make that happen too. All right, have a super day. Bye.